You can't control what's outside your home, but you can control what comes in. Because Clorox disinfecting wipes kill 99.9% of viruses and bacteria, including COVID-19 virus, when used as directed on hard, non-porous surfaces. So whether it's from dirty doorknobs, dirty shoes, or something else, outside germs won't stand a chance. When it counts, trust Clorox. Kill Pseudomonas, Salmonella, and influenza virus type A2. Kill SARS-CoV-2 on hard, non-porous surfaces. Use as directed.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for downloading Beer Nuts for free on iTunes or from ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate Beer Nuts 5 stars on iTunes and help to tell others about Beer Nuts by leaving a comment. Thank you for following Beer Nuts on Twitter at Beer Nuts Podcast and on Instagram at Beer Nuts Podcast. Please like the Beer Nuts Podcast on Facebook to like and share Beer Nuts. If you'd like to donate to Beer Nuts, you can click on the PayPal button at ChristopherMedia.net. If you use Amazon.com, please click and bookmark the Amazon link at ChristopherMedia.net. It will not cost you any extra money, and you will help to support Beer Nuts. If you're looking to launch your own website, please click through the HostGator banner at ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media uses HostGator to host all of the shows produced by the Christopher Media Network. When you click through the HostGator banner at ChristopherMedia.net and sign up for HostGator, you are helping to support Beer Nuts. TheBroBasket.com. Guys are tired of all those boring socks and ties. BroBasket is the answer to the age-old question, what do I get a guy? We know that choosing the perfect gift for a man is a difficult task, but not anymore. TheBroBasket.com is here to help. We all know men are hard to shop for, but what do guys actually like? Their favorite alcohol, that's what. It could be craft beer, wine, whiskey, scotch, or tequila. TheBroBasket.com will put it in a gift basket full of their favorite gear and goodies. You can customize your own BroBasket or choose from a variety of different BroBaskets, like the Ultimate Import Sampler, the Jack and Coke gift set, or the Junior Executive gift basket. Boozless but still cool BroBaskets are also available. TheBroBasket.com gives you many shipping options to choose from, including rush delivery and Saturdays. 21 and over, please. State and local laws apply. Beer, wine, and liquor are not available for shipping in all states. You can help to support Christopher Media by clicking through the TheBroBasket.com banner at ChristopherMedia.net. Alcohol gift baskets. What men really want. Men used to be hard to shop for. TheBroBasket.com.
Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer. Brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Beer Nuts. We're going to do an episode of Mixed Nuts. It's just Dugout and I tonight. So if you want to crack open a cold one and kick back and just relax and enjoy the ride, we're going to taste some pretty tasty beers today. A few that I picked up in New England last week. So in light of that, I'm going to turn it over to Dugout to do the quote of the week and take us into our first beer. So crack open a cold one.
So, open your beer. Let's get this poured. Quote of the week. All right, so I had some fortune cookies laying around, and I thought, well, I always did this thing with fortune cookies, like way back a long time ago, where you'd read the thing on the fortune cookie and then finish it within bed. And then later on, as I got older, then it sort of changed to be in prison. And it makes for some pretty funny sayings. So I figured we just take a fortune cookie, pull it open, and finish it off while drinking beer. So here's my fortune cookie. He who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at while drinking beer. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. That's a great fortune cookie. What did you have with that fortune cookie?
Well, all right. So we had a couple miscues getting this thing going. So thank God I still have some of this left. But I've got a beer that I got from you, JR. It's called. It's from Hill Farmstead Brewery, and from just reading on the label, it sounds like a pretty awesome place. And this is Society and Solitude number 5. It started life out as a growler. There's still a little left. It pours I'm just going to go in the review, and then JR, just fill us in on the details of this awesome brewery, because, yeah, this beer is awesome. It sort of comes in at a very hazy golden color, and it's got a head on it that lasts forever. I mean, I think I poured this glass almost a half hour ago, and there's still a good bit of head on here, and you swirl it around, get some great lacing. But, yeah, it is definitely hazy. You don't see clear of day through it. Aroma-wise, you just get some of the freshest hops I think I've ever smelled in my life. I mean, it smells like I just opened a package of hops and what I'm brewing with. And that's the kind of aroma I'm getting off of this. You know, very, very piney and pungent. So the sip comes in, and oh boy, it's, you know, I've discussed this in the past before about certain double IPAs becoming like beer syrup, but this isn't quite there. I mean, the body is very medium body. It's definitely got some guts to it. But the hop presence just knock your socks off. I mean, it is just, you know, if you don't like hops, you will not like this beer. That's for sure. But I'll tell you what, I can get addicted to something like this. It's this truly an amazing beer. So, JR, what do you know about this place?
Well, our last episode of Beer Nuts, I was in Stowe, Vermont, and I think I said that the next day I was going to Hill Farmstead. And indeed, this is from the next day, which was last Thursday, which will be a week tomorrow. I think you had mentioned to me that on the bottle itself, it has a little tag that explains what's in there, and it says to drink it by tomorrow, because they want you to drink a growler within a week. So it was a growler poured from the taps. But man, I mean, the drive to this place from Stowe was about an hour, and I mean, I was in the middle of nowhere. About the last 2 miles of this drive were just dirt roads and, you know, all, you know, country, mountain, beautiful, unbelievable country. You know, the drive out there is spectacular. But so, you know, you're talking a really, really out of the wall place that it was a really, really special place to be, because you drive a long way in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden you get this beautiful brewery, a serene setting. The people that were there were just, you know, not just the people that work there, but the other patrons. Everybody was just so friendly. It was just like they were all like so happy to be in this special place. The beers are highly revered. A lot of their beers are farmhouse saison type beers, and this particular beer was an Imperial IPA. I picked up 2 growlers of it. I actually haven't even drank my other growler, so you're the first one to taste it, Dugout. But I have another one. I thought about tasting it with you, and I thought, well, I'll let Doug review this. I'd rather go through a couple different beers. But what I really just want to say about the brewery is it's a really, really special place, and it's in a very serene, rustic setting. Just breathtaking scenery. It's not a place you're going to go and then, you know, get tanked. They have a 2 beer limit per patron. But they had some really good guest bottles from other breweries, a couple barrel-aged items. And you just had people up there really, really enjoying themselves, you know, kicking back. There was a food truck there that served an awesome shrimp taco I had. I can't describe it. You know, you have to go there. It's a bucket list place for any craft beer lover. If you're ever in that area of the country up in New England, take the time to drive out there. It's a long, you know, off the beaten path place, but it's you reap the benefits when you're there. So this particular beer, when you go up into the tap room, they have actually 2 outlets, one for growlers and you know, to buy a glass of beer to enjoy, and then they have another building which is their retail where you buy bottles to go, and did pick up a few items there. But there's a big message wall behind the bar, and it specifically says, please, having trouble deciding, please ask for a sample. So I took advantage of that and tried 4 or 5 different offerings, and I did sample this one, and it tasted really, really good. And you know, a lot of their beers are lower ABV, you know, farmhouse saisons, and which everything I had was tremendous. The one thing I'd like to say about their beers is, you know, Dugout, you mentioned how there was still head on it. They're very effervescent. There's some quality about their carbonation. It just doesn't go away, like you said, almost like a champagne-like quality. And it's very unique and very special beers. Every one of them were really, really tasty, and you know, well,
that aspect of the beer is beautiful. Like, it's over carbonated. I mean, I had mentioned a beer I believe I had mentioned a beer I was drinking in Indiana called Tiberius, and I had it on draft. It was phenomenal. Bought bottles of it, and the bottles were overcarbonated, completely changed the beer itself. But this is not like that. The carbonation is there, and it sits, and the beer's, like I had mentioned, is kind of a medium body, and it just sits and floats in there, and you get carbonation and a nice nose of bubbles every sip you have.
Yeah, I'd have to say that one of the best features of their beers is the mouthfeel. You got that great, mouthfeel with, it's not too overcarbonated, and it's not flat. It's just perfectly carbonated, and really adds to the enjoyment of the beer, a little bit of that effervescence. So, but you described the flavor. Now I can't wait to run out and get mine going. And since growlers don't last forever, I guess it's going to be a good next couple of days, because I still have 3 growlers left of their beer.
Yeah, well, the expiration on this one is August 11th, which is tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow might be a good night around here.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm glad you enjoyed it. The growlers, I really love the growlers, the glass that they come in. The ones I purchased were 750 milliliter with the flip top caps that seal in the carbonation quite well. And they also have a 64 ounce growler, which is really nice and big and fancy. But I figured I'd rather get more of the smaller ones than a couple big ones. And I had to keep them all on ice, my whole way back to Michigan from Vermont. But it was worth a little bit of effort to bring these treasures home, and I'm glad you got to enjoy one to Dugout. And so thanks for reviewing it. Any other comments you'd like to make on it?
No, other than thank you wholeheartedly for bringing this back. I mean, this is quite a treat. I don't get to drink beers this really, really good that often. I mean, I get good ones, but not something that's on this level. So thank you.
Yeah, it was a family vacation, so I had to balance family time and beer time, but I was given an afternoon by my family off to go do my own thing and go out here. No one wanted to make the trip because brewery trips aren't always exciting for an 11-year-old or a 7-year-old boy or a wife that doesn't drink. But really, really great experience there. Great people, great atmosphere. Everybody was tickled to death to be there, and it really is a special place. And I would encourage anybody who gets the opportunity to pay a visit to Hill Farmstead, please make that extra trek out there. It's well worth it, and it'll be something I'll never forget. It was one of those special places. And even on my Facebook page, I put the picture of the view that I had from the outside porch with my glass of beer sitting there about half full, and just the countryside. Just some amazing view of the surrounding area: mountains, pine trees, meadows, fields. So great place to be, and I was very fortunate to have got the opportunity to go there. So some of the other, they did have some bottles available, and Dugout, I'm sure we'll enjoy one of those. I think I showed it to you today when I saw you. I got a few bottles of Arthur, dry hopped Arthur.
That looks interesting. Yeah.
And that's, I believe, a farmhouse saison with that's dry hop. So look forward to trying those down the road too. And those are bottle conditioned bottles, I believe. So they don't have the expiration date like these growlers do. So we can actually save them, for a few weeks anyway. And I'm sure we'll be drinking those together and possibly review on a future show.
All right. So what's up next on the docket there, JR?
Well, we might as well stay in New England. And I did not make it to Massachusetts on my trip. I was born in Massachusetts, and I had intended to go back, but we had kind of a mini family reunion at my cousin's in southern Vermont near the town of Brattleboro. And my aunt, Linda, who lives in Boston, was kind enough to go to Trillium Brewery in Boston and pick me up a couple of cases of their fine brews. And beer connoisseurs around the country are familiar with this brewery, Trillium, for their legendary New England IPAs. The New England style IPA is known to, versus the West Coast style. The difference between the East Coast and the West Coast styles are specifically the New England. The New England styles generally are very hazy in appearance, whereas the West Coast wants to get that clean look to it, whereas the New England is the opposite. The beer that I'm about to sample is called Double Dry Hop Fort Point Pale Ale. They make all their beers standard, and then they double dry hop some of them, so you're going to get obviously extra hop. So the appearance of this beer and most New England IPAs looks almost like a glass of orange juice. It's very hazy. It had about a half finger head, with dissipated pretty quickly, but it's very, very hazy. It's almost orange. appearance. Almost really does remind you of a juicy glass of orange juice. Obviously, being double dry hopped, as soon as I bring this up towards my nose, I get a huge burst of hop, citrusy, grapefruity, pineapple-y hops. A very nice aroma. So I'm going to take a sip now. And perhaps it's because the appearance of the orange juice, but it really does have a juicy texture to it without the pulp, but really, really hazy. And the flavor is just really there. It's that juicy, tropical fruit, orange, mango, pineapple, loaded with hop pleasure here. I mean, just really, really a great beer. Dugout, I believe. No, we didn't try this one today when we were there, but I did give you some. So at some point you'll get to try this, but it's really a game changer. I mean, this style of beer, it is debated. You got the West Coasters that want that clean looking, and we love them all. Don't get me wrong, but this is really, I guess the best descriptor I have is juicy. It's like hop juice.
And yeah, let's have that discussion for a little bit. You got the West Coast, you got the East Coast, and then there's the Midwest, and then the Midwest is sort of putting out stuff that's somewhere. You got something like a Humalupalicious, which has that hazy and it has that wheat in it, and it's got the protein suspended. And then you've got something like Bell's Two Hearted, which is a little cleaner, Centennial Ale, which is like completely clean, and then we can really get into like some of the Chicago stuff, the new Chicago stuff like Pipeworks and guys like that are putting out just incredible IPAs. It's like it's exploding all over the country.
It sure is. And, we know a lot of our friends in our circle that have discovered these New England IPAs and are going crazy trading unbelievable, meads and beers for these iconic New England beers. I'm not falling into that. There's so many good beers out there that I like them all and I like to experience them all. But that being said, it was nice that my aunt brought me a supply of these and I didn't have to trade an arm and a leg for them. I just paid, retail and a case of these 16 or 24 16-ounce cans was not cheap. It was $120 for a case of this beer.
Oh, man.
But you know what? I figured it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I bit the bullet, and I bought a case of this, and I got a mixed case of some other of their beers, and I don't regret it for a minute, and I'll be glad to share the love with my friends. So really is a good style of beer, and this particular one is it's a pale ale. It's not going to knock your socks off, but it's 6.6% alcohol. That's no slouch for a pale ale, and it delivers great flavor, but I like this, and I like the Zombie Dust, and I like a Pliny the Elder. They're all a little bit different and unique. I love Two Hearted Ale. I think Two Hearted Ale is really overlooked in our home state of Michigan just because we can get it almost everywhere. I can get it at the movie theater. But you know what? Sometimes we take these beers for granted, and I don't think it's right to say one's better than the other. They're all unique in their own way, and then half the fun is the discovery.
I couldn't agree with you more. And just one last point on Two Hearted. It seems to be the go-to beer for anywhere in Michigan that you might happen to be, and it might be an old school kind of place, some old pizza place that's been running since the 40s up in Grand Haven. Fricano's awesome. If you ever buy there, check it out. But, the only non-NASCAR beer they have there is Bell's Two Hearted. And it's like, yeah, I'm happy to have one there, sure.
I love that Dugout NASCAR beer. I'll drink to that. That's a great term. Good job on that one.
So, yeah, some of the best pizza in Michigan, though. And, as a Chicago guy with a whole lot of pizza upbringing, it's been a challenge living here in Michigan with the pizza situation. But, they have their own, Detroit has their own pizza, and I can dig it. It's good. And it's just like anywhere else, you got good pizza and you got bad pizza. You go to New York, you got good pizza, you got bad pizza. You go to Chicago, you got good pizza, bad pizza. Anyways, I'm off on a tangent. What are we doing next, man?
Before we move on, since you mentioned pizza, I got to give a little plug to my buddy Freddie the Pizza Man. He's got a great, one of the best pizzas I've ever had in the Detroit area in Melvindale, Michigan. And he does a weekly podcast of his own that's more about Detroit sports and maybe placing a few wagers and so forth. And he's invited us to come on his podcast. And we may at some point do a simulcast with him. He's given me several of his pizzas with different topping combinations and asked me to pair them with craft beers. So just wanted to give a shout out to Freddie. He's a really good guy that I was fortunate enough to meet, and look forward to doing a few things. And honestly, Dugout, we got to go there, and you got to try his New York style pizza. It's off the charts. My kids, I brought them there, and it's now their favorite pizza that they've ever had. So give it a shot. Freddie's New York style pizza in Melvinville, Michigan. So now that plug's out of the way, I think it's Dugout. It's your turn. I'm going to go back to you.
All right, so we were doing a bit of mixed nuts, and I know our last episode was a road warrior, and I was sort of on the road today. I live just on the north in the north suburbs of Detroit. And today I was down in Toledo, which is, I don't know, it's a little bit hour, 15 minutes away. It's a lot of different beers that we don't get here in Michigan, and one in particular, which I happen to be a fan of this place, is called Jackie O's. It's Jackie O's Pub and Brewery. And JR, if you'd be so kind to look that place up for me, because I know you turned me on to it. I know, I want to say Akron, but I could be wrong.
I believe it's in Athens, Ohio. I'll look it up right now.
Athens, Ohio. Okay, so what I have from them today is, they do really great beers in cans only. No, not only. I mean, they do some special releases, barrel-aged releases get done in bottles, some bottles. But today I saw one called Ohio Pale Ale, and it was just called OPA. And it says it's an original brew pub release of a pale ale and an IPA hybrid. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring this in, and it's total wrong time. I mean, we just had some really big, thick, heavy hop double IPAs, which, they're great when you're sitting in the AC and drinking those. But in the last couple of days have been like encroaching on 100 degrees. It's been humid. Today was a toasty 94 degrees. And that's kind of a hard pill to swallow sometimes if it's you're sitting outside and you got a 8.5 double IPA with 100 IBUs. I mean, that just sort of crushes you. I just wanted to kind of highlight maybe a pale ale, a lighter summer ale, and boy, this one sure fits the bill. It's got a really light body, and with the visuals, I almost expected this to be pretty clear. Most of their beers are, but this one's got some haze to it. It's got a nice head on it. The aroma is, I've got some pretty heavy hops, but it's got some malt in there too. So it's really, and the taste flavor is very balanced. It's not like bitter IPA. I mean, it's just very easy drinking pale ale crossed with an IPA. It's got a little more bitterness than, say, solid hop bitterness than, say, any average pale ale would have. But wow, what a nice beer! What a nice summer beer.
Yeah, they have a lot of good. Pretty much every one of their beers is good, but they have a lot of really good limited release. Stuff that aged in spirit barrels and so forth. Their beers are really sought after. I mean, I'd probably say that it's my favorite brewery in the state of Ohio. I haven't been there yet, but it's really not that. It's maybe a 3-hour drive from here, 3-4 tops, which is nothing after you go to Vermont. So yeah, that's a road trip that needs to happen. I know people go nuts over these limited release, but you can get these beers. We're not far from the Ohio border. You just have to kind of be put your feelers out and figure out when they're released. I know they have, let me look these up, Bourbon Barrel Oil of Aphrodite, which is a walnut stout brewed with black walnuts and Belgian candy syrup. I mean, just when you hear that, you want one.
Wow, yeah, that sounds like drinking by a fireplace when it's 0 degrees outside.
And then there's Jackie O's Bourbon Barrel Coffee Oil of Aphrodite, Bourbon Barrel Aged Imperial Walnut Stout brewed with black walnuts and Belgian candied syrup and conditioned on coffee. And these are just one of very many. I know there's one called Oro Negro that's off the charts. There's a Brick Kiln, which is their barley wine, and all their beers. All these come in a regular one and then a barrel aged one. So they're not cheap. It's like I think about $12 a bottle for the barrel aged ones for a 12-ounce bottle, a 12.7 ounce bottle, which is weird, but hey, worth it. It's quantity over quality, and they take a lot of pride in what they do. So it's a brewery that if you don't know about, you need to know about, and I imagine there's a lot of you out there that do know about it and probably know a lot more than I do. But yeah, I'm glad that you discovered their pale ale. Pretty much everything I've had from these guys is spot on, really, really pleasurable drinking. So
no, I couldn't agree with you more. They've got an IPA that is just as solid as the day is long. Again, it's in a can, and it's not a crushing kind of IPA that it's something you can drink when it's hot out and enjoy it. It's not lawnmower beer, but it's it's pretty darn close. It's very nice. It's very refreshing.
Well, I'm reading from their website. It's the ABV of 6. It says it's an IPA hybrid called OPA, Ohio Pale Ale. Known as OPA, this evolving beer was originally brewed in our brew pub. With 3 hop varieties, these pale ale and IPA hybrids are highly crushable. So you said something about crush, but I think it was a different meaning. They're crushable, meaning you can drink a few of these.
You can drink a few of them, and they're in cans, and maybe they mean you just crush the can on your head.
It could be, but I think when they say crushable, it means you can kick a few back. And
yeah.
And I do thank you, Dugout, because you left me one today, and it's in my fridge, and I can't wait to crack it open. Probably after I get through all these growlers of Hill Farmstead.
Yeah, take your time on that one. I don't think that has an expiration date. I couldn't read one anyways, and I work in consumer product goods, and if it doesn't have an expiration date, it lasts forever.
Well, speaking of expiration dates, the beer I'm about to break out doesn't have an expiration date because it was brewed by you, Dugout. You're kind enough to bring me some of your latest homebrew, so I'm going to have you describe the homebrew while I pour myself a glass, and then I'll taste it and review it, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I've got one poured here too. Actually, I've had one poured, and we had a lot of technical difficulties, so I've actually gone through a couple of them. But this is one of our favorite breweries that we've definitely mentioned several times throughout the course of our shows. Has been Coonan Brewery out of Warren, Michigan, and they've recently opened a new place, and they've got a 15-year anniversary coming up. One of their flagship beers, and it's really their main flagship beer, is called DRIPA. And DRIPA stands for Double Rice IPA. They use a type of rice extraction that's dried, and it turns white. It looks like powdered sugar when you use it. But one of the great things about Coonan is that they're just a regular place. They are regular people. They're very quirky, but they have a brew store that's right across the parking lot, and you can go into that brew store, and they have all grain versions of their beers available to brew. And I've always seen some of the other ones that they've done, the Simcoe Silly and American Pale Ale, and then every once in a while I would be in there and I'd see something called DRIPA, and be like, okay, I'm going to brew my own DRIPA. Me being me, I don't follow directions well on beer kits anymore just because I have other ideas, and so this is the second time I've made it. This time I went light on the ideas, and I probably added maybe a little bit of stuff to kick up the alcohol volume because they thought the last kit was low. And then I also added some citra hops into the boil here, and that's where it stands. JR, please be my guest and review, because I it's hard to review your own beers. It's like, yeah, all right, this came out great, and I know it came out great, but I'd rather hear somebody else and what they have to say about it.
I just poured one, and it had a nice healthy head on it. It's poured from a howler, 32-ounce jug. I poured this 4 or 5 minutes ago when we first started talking about it, and the head is still on there. It probably had a good healthy one finger head, and it's still on there, and a really good lacing. Like when I tilt the glass, I see a lot of looks good, so it's passing the look test. So I do get a hazy appearance, not as orange juicy as these New England hop ones, but it's not clear, and that's probably because of the rice, I would think. It's got a nice like a tan, very light like beige color. So I'm gonna get a nice whiff of the aroma, and I can smell those citra hops. Got a nice, very pleasant, nice citrusy nose. So now I'm going to take a sip, and it's really good. So I'm going to take another sip, and The first thing I notice is I'm expecting it to taste like the DRIPA that I get at Coonan. I think the Citra edition's a nice idea because I get a little bit of grapefruit. There's a nice malty finish to this, which I don't recall that being part of the. Usually you get the malt in the front and then the hops, but I can taste grain in the aftertaste of this, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I'm getting all the flavors come together like a concert. I'm getting that grapefruity aroma, and it hits you first, and then I get the malt, and then if you wait about 5 seconds, then you're getting more of that grapefruity, hop bitterness. But it's a really, really lovely beer, Doug. Very, very well done. Thanks for saving me some because, I don't always get to try all Dugout's beers because they don't last long at his place.
No, and this one's on a fast track out of here. I don't know that there's even a glass left. But I hope there is, at least. Well, I think that burst of malt actually comes from the rice being added in there. It adds a secondary kind of malt characteristic to it. I know that sounds odd, but it has something to do with that rice. Sort of brings up that malt content and sort of matches it to that hop bitterness. So even though it's crazily dry hopped.
Well, the other thing I noticed is it's a very dry finish.
Behind it.
It's a very dry finish, and that's very symptomatic of rice. Getting that dryness. I know when you have like a Sapporo, that you get that dry finish, which it's not a negative thing in it at all. It's a nice dry finish.
Well, no, and it's a beautiful, beautiful beer to drink when it's hot out, even though it's a hoppy beer. I did change the yeast profile in this beer too, and I did that on the last batch. I mean, I had and you and I were talking about this earlier in the day about, dry yeasts and liquid yeasts and things like that. And, dry yeasts can work great for your beers. And this kit includes a dry yeast, but I just didn't feel that dry yeast profile is actually what is Coonan's DRIPA. I mean, so I used an American ale yeast that seemed to fit the bill a little better.
Well, yeah, and it was a nice discussion we had today because we were talking about some of the stronger beers don't always make it, especially I've had beers that I've expected to be 7 or 8% and they come out at 6. And those were all made with the dry yeast. So I think Dugout might be onto something here. You try a better, take your time, do a yeast starter, use a liquid yeast or a yeast that can attenuate a little bit higher alcohol levels. And I think you'll get more alcohol and better results with getting those higher ABVs because I haven't had very much luck making the real strong ones. And what's this come out at?
I think this one came out right about 8%. I mean, the kit advertises that it's coming out somewhere to original DRIPA, which is somewhere around 9 to 9.5. But, when you open a kit and you brewed enough all grain batches and you look at that batch of grain to say, there's no way that's getting a 9%. I mean, it just seems, it seemed to be, the kit was designed to do maybe a 6% or 7% DRIPA. I added an extra pound of dry malt extract into it just because I was originally going to do a starter and then that didn't happen. So I just threw it in there and threw the yeast in there and let it go. Because, you can do that. As long as you got the right temperatures and steady temperatures, your beer's going to ferment out.
Yeah, and I'm on Coonan's website now, and the DRIPA should be 9.5. Yeah, that you'd have a hard time getting 9.5 with the kit they give you and the yeast that they provide. So you know what, we're gonna find a way to make it 10.
The last time I did it, I think I added 2 pounds of 2-row malt just to make it. I don't know. It was a look thing, because I brew a lot of beers that go a little higher in ABV, and I just looked at the grain, and they're like, no, that's not going to cut it. So, yeah, I added 2 pounds extra. This time I did a pound extra. But here's the thing, and Christopher's not with us. This was our big brew day. I did Christopher's first batch of brew, and then I did this batch right after we did his batch just to show him how to do an all-grain bill. And I did it in a kit because, that's sort of an easier way to get involved with it. And, it's step-by-step instructions. I fudged it and I added things because that's what I do anyways. But it was just sort of a learning experience for both of us. And really sorry Christopher can't be here to have this with us. I hope to God he gets a sip of this at some point.
Good luck with that, Christopher. So, yeah, I'll just read. I wanted to read the description of DRIPA for our audience. It's our flagship and most sought-after beer. DRIPA won a gold medal in the IPA category at the 2012 World Beer Cup, the biggest commercial beer competition in the world. Huge citrus hop character in the aroma is followed by a medium-high bitterness, balanced surprisingly well with cereal malty notes, which I noted on my tasting of this. The signature of this beer is the brilliant clarity and the crisp dry snap at the finish, thanks to a very time-consuming cereal mash with American long grain rice. I would say the one thing is the brilliant clarity is not there with the one that you brewed, Dugout.
No, and actually I added some clarifying agents. I added Irish moss into it to clean it up. But in the kit, they don't give you long grain rice. What I've been told is that when people used to go to the brewery and they go outside and have a cigarette by the dumpster, then the dumpster filled with boxes of Uncle Ben's rice, and that's actually what they used in the original rice.
Well, it's just a commodity. But it does say dry snap at the finish, which this absolutely has, and it does mention cereal malty notes, and I tasted that before I read any of this. And it says huge citrus hop character, so it's pretty much there. It may be a different appearance. It's not mega cloudy, but it's not nearly as cloudy as this New England Fort Point Pale Ale I'm drinking. But hey, I would take this any day. Give me another howler. I know it's not.
I don't think there is another howler left. I think I have to make another batch, and that would be. Oh, I don't know, man. There's another one coming. There's another one in the fermenter right now. That's a strawberry rhubarb saison. That's actually fermented out. I've got the rhubarb picked. Got to get that prepped. Some people think this is gross, but I think it's one of my favorite desserts of all time. I always grew up having rhubarb, and so ready to take it to the beer level.
Well, speaking of your garden, thank you for the hot peppers you gave me today. Why don't you describe the peppers you gave me, and I'm going to brew a batch of beer this weekend.
Well, you have two extremely high on the Scoville scale of peppers, kind of peppers. You have a Carolina Reaper, and both peppers are kind of beautiful in their own right, but they're ugly as hell, right? I mean, Carolina Reaper is like a twisted up little ball with a tail coming off. It looks like and I know last year I grew Trinidad Scorpions. They look very similar, but they're not the same. Different peppers. And then the other one you have is a Devil's Tongue, which is way, way up there. It's not as high as Carolina Reaper or the Trinidad Scorpion, but it is up there. And it seriously looks like it's like creepiest tongue you've ever seen if you take it by the stem and turn it a certain way.
Well, I was going to call it Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be.
Hell Ain't a Bad
Maybe I'll call it Detroit Rock City in honor of Gene Simmons with that tongue. But I'm looking forward to brewing for him, and I appreciate you giving me those. For those of you that don't know in the audience, I am the sickest beer nut when it comes to heat. I love hot peppers and heat. One of my claims to fame is I have triumphed in the Death Wing Challenge at Diablo's in Las Vegas. My picture's on the wall. Nothing's too hot for me, at least as long as I have a few beers in me first. And I look forward to brewing something with these. I don't want to make it too hot, though. I want to make it so other people can enjoy these beers, and it won't be so hot that it melts their face off and turns them off. I want them to enjoy the beer. And one of the things that impressed me at the Michigan Brewers Guild Festival was White Flame's Red Shoes, which was my favorite beer of the show, which is a habanero pale ale that actually was drinkable on a hot day. It was really hot that day, and that was my favorite beer of the festival, and I think a lot of people around me agree that they enjoyed it because it wasn't so hot that it chased people away. It was actually just enough habanero that it added a little zip to it, and that's what I'm going to be striving for, which may be a challenge because these sounds like these are pretty high up there on the Scoville scale. But I'm just going to have to be careful and not overdo it. That's the goal.
Yep, brew it, and forget about it, and live with what you brew.
Because, at the end of the day, it's always going to be beer.
That's right. And, I think as long as you make that beer good from start to finish, that heat is not going to be such a turnoff as long as the base of the beer is good.
Anybody that's ever homebrewed knows that there's always something something goes wrong, or you forget to add something at the right time, or you forget to add something completely. I forgot to add Werflock tablets sometimes. I forgot a hop addition at other times. But you know what? At the end of the day, the homebrewer's creed is relax, don't worry, have a homebrew. It always turns out okay. So just, put some Bob Marley on. Don't worry about a thing. Everything's going to be all right. So that's about it for me, Dugout. Anything else you'd like to add for the show? Any news coming up? I would like to...
Well,
I'll let you go first.
We got a couple things coming up. Now, this comes up beginning of September, week after Labor Day, is the UP Beer Festival, which is another Michigan Brewers Guild festival. I personally think they do some of the best beer festivals there are. I've been to a lot. I worked at a lot of them. These are just chill, cool events. So, and what better setting than Marquette, Michigan, for a beer festival in September. So we got that one coming up, and then we also have the Detroit Beer Festival, which is another Michigan Brewers Guild, and that, I believe, is October 22nd. I haven't bought my tickets yet, so I'm just going to say, yeah, tickets don't go on sale for another 2 weeks. I was just waiting until Friday to buy my tickets. So anyways, no, this episode won't air until after I buy my tickets, so we're all good. Buy your tickets. If you get a chance, go to this festival in Detroit. A lot of negative things about Detroit out there, but Detroit's got some great things going, and this festival is one of them. It is probably one of the best festivals that I do go to. I mean, yeah, we got Ipsy, but that Detroit festival matches it, and it is cool as hell. Right, Jer?
Oh, absolutely. And, I know that you've said before on occasion that the Ipsy one is your favorite, but you know what? The Ipsy one was so hot this year, it was really difficult to, there was some great beers there that I kind of hesitated because I didn't want to, drink these real high alcohol beers in the heat. Well, you won't have that problem in the Detroit Beer Festival. It'll be nice. It's October. It's one of my favorites. Your favorite might be the Ipsy. I think my favorite is the Detroit one.
Well, and where's Uncle Pete when we need him? Because, I went to the one last year, and we were tailgating at Uncle Pete's truck. And I know that I've seen this thing online. It's like, what not to do at beer festivals, blah, blah, blah. Don't tailgate before a beer blah, blah, blah. And it was like, hey, there was Uncle Pete with some pretty amazing beers, with some really great guys standing around him. And, hey, why not tailgate beforehand?
Yes, and we had quite the after party, too, which ended up in my basement. But that's a story for another day. But, the Detroit Beer Festival, highly recommended. I also want to bring one more thing up, and by the time this show airs, it'll maybe be a week before it, but the Conan 15th anniversary party is coming up on August the 20th. So I have tickets. Dugout has another commitment, which is actually a big party that he's throwing at his house. So I'm going to do everything I can within my power to make both of those events. So we'll see how it works out. But if you are in the Detroit area on the weekend of August 20th, even if you're there Friday the 19th, I've heard through the grapevine there's going to be surprises on the 19th as well. So make it out to Conan Brewing, the flagship brewery in Warren. They also have the other one in the newer brewery out where Chris lives in Commerce. Where is that, Dugout? It's out near St. Clair Shores.
Clinton Township.
Clinton Township, that's it. But I believe all of the main festivities are at the Warren, the flagship brewery. So if you come out there...
on the Friday night, because I may just pretend I'm going out for a 6-pack of beer, and...
There we go.
Oops, the auto steer drove me there.
All I can tell you is there was a cryptic announcement made on Conan's Facebook page, something about you don't want to miss the 19th. So, okay,
all right. Maybe I'll go in there in the afternoon and look for familiar faces because I'm somewhat of a regular there, and they'll steer me to the right direction because they've done that once before.
You can always go looking for brewing ingredients across the parking lot and just happen to stop by. So that should about cover it. Any closing remarks, Dugout?
Well, how about somebody wins a beer glass this week, right?
Oh, yeah. I think I mentioned on the last episode when I was in Stowe that I had some focal banger. And I said, hey, hashtag focal banger, anybody wants to tweet out. I also mentioned our buddy Greg Schmidt, who took advantage of getting the zombie dust, that he had never had one. And lo and behold, he must be our most loyal listener, because he tweeted out this week, as soon as the episode was released where I was in Stowe, the Road Warriors episode, he not only tweeted out focal banger, but he did hashtag hopefully I'm the 12th caller, because I think I made a joke about being the 12th caller. So Greg Schmidt, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are more than worthy to receive a focal banger from me. So just private message me and we'll make that happen, because that's the kind of stuff we do here at on Beer Nuts. We're just regular guys, and we're happy to share the love with people. And
just a shout out to the guys who aren't here tonight: Christopher, Uncle Pete, Andrea. Miss you guys. I mean, love to do an episode with all of us. I think it's coming soon. I hope it's coming soon.
Amen. And really take it a step further, one with all of us in the same room, because we've been saving up some really good things for some future episodes. So yeah, I think it'll come as the summer winds down. Summer's tough on a lot of people, a lot of travel, the heat, but we're getting, and that brings me to the point that really the fall that's the best beer time of the year. The summer's over, it starts to cool off a little bit. It's a great time for brewing, for home brewers to brew. You got, already we got the Oktoberfests coming out, the pumpkin beers, and, everything. It's that time where, beer and football, they go together. And so real exciting time coming. So thanks for being patient with us over the summer. We've tried to keep up. We've missed a few weeks here and there, but you know what? It's beer time. It's go time coming real soon here. So all right, well that about wraps it up for this episode of Mixed Nuts. Thanks again for following us follow us on Twitter at Beer Nuts Podcast, at Michigan Beer Guy, and you know what? I'll let Chris edit that stuff in. So as they say in old Mexico City, AMF.
If you enjoy this show and want more people to know about it, head on over to iTunes, leave a comment, and rate it 5 stars. Make sure you like and share us on Facebook, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Just search for Christopher Media. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Most importantly, we would like to take the time to extend an extra special thanks to you. Christopher Media could not exist without your support. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
This podcast is brought to you by Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce. A great sauce starts with the best ingredients. Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce is that great sauce. Inspired by our founder's original recipe, Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce is made with delicious ingredients, including vine-ripened tomatoes, chopped onions, garlic, and olive oil, simmered together for the authentic taste you and your family will want to come back to. For recipes, sauces, and mealtime inspiration, visit ragu.com.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The name your price tool. Only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.